We will continue with the Christmas story. Today we will read the story titled What My Therapist Doesn't Know. It's a freezing day in December, almost Christmas. My breath puffs out like clouds of cigarette smoke in the clear night air of the motel parking lot. At the moment, I wish it was cigarette smoke because I can't remember being this nervous in a very long time. Maybe the Christmas Eve service 20 years ago, when a pushy grandmother shoved her mini-skirted teen granddaughter up to the piano in our little Baptist church and plopped an unfamiliar piece of music before me, stating, "Missy is going to sing. Play this." This wasn't our Baptist church, and I wasn't about to play a difficult piece in front of 200 people. It was a sleazy motel parking lot, and I was here to meet someone I'd fantasized about every day for the past year. Someone who was not my husband and someone 20 years my junior. I hugged myself to keep from shivering as I glanced around, almost hoping he wouldn't show. How did the 70-year-old church pianist and Sunday school teacher end up in this motel parking lot, waiting to keep all the promises she had unwisely made to this young man? What if my knee popped out in the middle of giving him, you know what? What if I broke a hip as he crashed into me during the thing? What if I had a freaking heart attack from the excitement even before we got into the room? My wiser angels never weighed in on these tricky moments, so I stayed, shaking and chastising myself. Fine Christmas gift for the hubs, girl. Meeting a lover for the first time ever. 40 years of faithfulness, and now this? This circumstance wasn't entirely my fault. When my husband retired last January, he suggested getting into swinging. I was shocked when he stated that was how he wanted to spend his retirement. His idea of swinging was to invite another woman to our bed. In trying to battle his penchant for watching me with another woman, I suggested we look for a man first. He reluctantly agreed and signed me up for a dating site, orchestrating everything from what picture to post, what desires I had, and exactly what I was looking for, leaving out the cuckold aspect. Being married for almost 40 years had rendered me invisible. I was the kid's mom, and now I was a grandmother. I was my husband's wife, the retired piano player, and Sunday school teacher. Not exactly a sparkling Playboy bunny resume. Plus, I was almost 70. If a man had ever noticed me during those years, I would have suggested he try to locate his seeing eye dog. Men's attention was something I simply did not worry about. There was none. Within half an hour of my dating profile going live, I had over 60 requests for more information, messages, hearts, flowers, you name it. Weren't there any women on this site, I thought. It was a bit overwhelming as I tried replying politely to everyone while my husband tried to explain that I picked who I wanted and moved on. Ouch, that was a bit harsh. We had settled on a 60-plus age group, as he didn't want some young punk with his wife. You know how those 50-year-old punks can be. One young man kept popping up in my feed, asking me why I didn't consider him. I explained that someone in their 40s was much too young. I was sure he was joking when he told me he liked older women. Try as I might, he would not give up. I finally told the hubs he was the man I was interested in. After an hour or so of explaining why that was a bad idea, hubby finally wrote the man a very explicit message explaining what he would encounter when we were together. He told him we would be having a threesome and that it would be a night the man would never forget, as I was one talented and sensual woman. The man eagerly accepted the challenge, and then my husband withdrew the offer, pulling the rug out from under the young guy. I was mortified. This led to months of texts between him and me, with me almost deciding to leave my marriage behind at one point. Then, in the summer, my husband had a near-fatal heart attack, and I had to get my priorities in order, leaving my infatuation in the dust, or, so I thought. Try as I might, weeks could go by without checking on my almost lover. I would declare victory to my therapist, who never really understood my strange infatuation with this man anyway. Then, as soon as I heard a song that reminded me of him, I would begin pining for him again. My poor therapist was so distraught at my obsession that I was worried she might have a nervous breakdown over it. I finally stopped telling her about him. What she didn't know wouldn't hurt her. Not that Jake was sweet to me. He was an angry, sullen individual who rarely said anything kind to me. He insulted me, called me a slut wife, and told me that I liked holding my marriage over his head. He constantly told me I did not try hard enough to meet him when he always backed away. It was like a game of cat and mouse, and I didn't know if I was the cat or the mouse. Yet, still, I persisted. I can't recall a man I argued with more viciously than Jake, my texting lover. I never called my husband names or tore him up one side and down the other. Perhaps the safety of hiding behind my phone screen or the knowledge that I would never meet Jake in person made me bold. Once, I commented that if we ever met in person, a fistfight would break out after the first 5 minutes. He replied that more likely full-on animalistic fucking would break out. Here I was, feet frozen to the frosty blacktop of this old motel parking lot, wondering if we were going to have a fist fight or a night of sexual pleasure so intense that I would never want to go back home. It was too late to rescind my Christmas gift offer of an evening of lovemaking to Jake. How many hours had I thought about him? How many times had I woken up, ashamed, from dreams of making love to him? How many imaginary conversations had I contrived in my mind, telling him how much I needed him and that I loved him from our first real conversation? A lone set of headlights turned into the parking lot, zeroing in on me as they slowly approached. A deer in the headlights. A guilty woman in heels, stockings, and a short skirt with seductive, lacy underthings hiding beneath. I feared my age would now matter because we would be close together for the night. Afraid I wouldn't be good enough for him. Scared of being a disappointment, I slipped back into the driver's seat of my car, pushed the button, and slowly backed out of the lot just as he exited from his car, shrugging his shoulders at me, just like his favorite emoji when I spoke of my feelings for him. Good. I hope you feel confused, just like you made me feel for the last year. On the way home, I stopped at an open store and picked up my husband's favorite fruitcake, chocolate milk for him, and a big bottle of wine for myself. Then I drove home, sighing in relief, after blocking Jake's number. Not tonight, Satan. Not tonight. Tomorrow? Maybe. God will bless you. We will continue with the Christmas story. Today we will read the story titled Santa Comes to Dinner. This Santa is a bit different. He brings 2 bags full, slung over his shoulder, and rather than using the chimney, bursts through our back door, unexpected. He leaves another knob-sized dent in the drywall and pries the trim from the doorframe as he forces his oversized load through the undersized threshold. And this Santa doesn't arrive with a cheerful greeting, but a somber, "Hey," followed quickly with a slightly less somber, "What's for dinner?" The pan-fried chicken portion for 3 now needs to accommodate 5, since this Santa, even at 153 pounds, boasts a Clausian-sized appetite. Santa drops his load in the laundry room and proceeds to pester his mother with a series of questions about how the machines work, which detergent to use, the history of the dryer sheet and its rise to prominence, until she finally relieves him of his post. "Hey," I say, which I assume will garner some acknowledgement after he's completed the pressing matter on his phone, but I'm proved presumptuous. I watch Santa shift his attention and begin scanning the room. He skulks, snoops, rummages, cupboards, closets, dark corners, nowhere's safe. He sprints up the stairs, impressive for a jolly old soul, then down to the basement, before taking a second pass at the main floor. But what makes this Santa truly unique is his propensity to leave a house with less, and never more, than when he arrives. Year after year phone chargers top his list, but he's not picky. Pens, paper, cereal, snacks, small furniture, socks, pillows, bedding, speakers, batteries, and, of course, garbage bags. Garbage bags are especially coveted for their versatility as laundry bags, grocery bags, shopping bags, laundry baskets, dresser drawers, suitcases, and least of all, garbage bags. To be fair, there is a decent chance we'll be getting some of the stuff he swipes back, wrapped haphazardly, when the holidays actually do roll around. Once we settle in for the meal, I ask, "How are classes?" Santa is a man of few words. Scratch that. Santa is a man of few sounds, and I think I hear something that resembles, "Good." His answer originates as a subtle vibration in his chest that somehow bypasses his vocal cords and just happens to ride the passing current of conditioned air to my left ear before fading into the ether. "How's Mrs. Claus?" I ask. The inside joke doesn't register, but the question reminds him it's been too long, 8 seconds, since he's checked his phone. My daughter has better luck. She asks Santa if he had Mrs. Silsmeyer when he went to Bradford West. It's enough to distract him from his screen to begin searching the middle distance for a definitive answer. He returns with something that sounds like, "Maybe," before resuming his default position. My daughter accepts his answer and uses it as a springboard to rail against the chemistry professor for the next 20 minutes. I am her only captive audience since my wife has left her meal to cool while tending to Santa's formidable mound of mentionables and unmentionables. This will be the 3rd time I've heard of Mrs. Silsmeyer's starring role as the Wicked Witch of West. Santa dismisses the story with the occasional huff and grunt, which is plenty to keep my daughter encouraged until I remind her that 2 bites are not enough to stay alive. It's no secret that Santa is a busy man and a popular guy, especially right after dinner. He's engrossed in an urgent call, so much so, that my daughter and I need to repeatedly reposition him so we can clear his plate, his fork, his knife, his spoon, his glass, his napkin, and then wipe his place setting, his chair, and the floor beneath. When I begin washing the pots and pans by hand, Santa seems annoyed by the noise from the running faucet and intermittent disposal, and how it's added to the rumble from the laundry room. The ruckus is forcing him to strain to hear his girlfriend. Graciously, He relocates to the den and closes the doors behind him. Santa re-emerges just in time to find the kitchen spick and span, which I'm guessing is a rare sight from whence he's come. I imagine he must find it all rather mysterious and magical. With his laundry still not done, there's time for Santa to make a pile by the back door of the goods marked for export. It's a light load this time, one garbage bag with items we'll only discover gone long after he has. There's really no telling what's in the opaque black receptacle, only that it bears no rhyme or reason. We'd be just as likely to find expensive electronics as a pair of dress shoes, or a box of Q-tips as a box of Bisquick, so random and varied, and in that way, reminiscent of the real McCoy. Meanwhile, I'm busy tending to garbage bags of my own, that actually have, get this, garbage in them. I sidestep Santa and his loot and shift sideways to tiptoe the hefty sacks through the doorway so as not to further damage the house on my way to the trash cans. When I get to the driveway, I see that his sleigh is blocking my path. It's backed in close, anticipating a large haul. I call back for Santa to move it, but it's my wife, with key in hand, who assumes the duties. When I return from my chores, I find Santa, tired and weary as you'd imagine, parked on the couch, in front of the TV. And like the day I found out the truth about Santa, I balloon with shock and anger. I've had it with the laziness, the messiness, the disregard. This once loving, jolly, smiley, pudgy bundle who regaled us with songs and dance, overflowed with infectious joy and enthusiasm and provided such hope and promise of great things to come, year after year, is now reduced to something unbearable. I tamp my instinctual temper. I understand my pivotal role in this development and recognize my duty to set things straight, again. Sprawled upon the couch, clicker in one hand, his phone in the other, oblivious to the storm that's brewing, Santa scrolls and scrolls while I summon the nerve in my argument. I rehearse the lines in my head. Things have to change, this behavior is unacceptable, you are better than this. I fill my lungs and part my lips. Then Santa turns to me. And speaks. Audibly. You wanna watch the game? He motions to the TV where he's queued up the pregame show to tonight's match between the Sixers and the Nuggets, a possible preview of the NBA Finals and a matchup of the two teams my son and I happened to see the last time we caught a live game together. He says, it's the Nuggets. Remember when we saw them a few years ago? That was fun. We should do that again. Then my daughter curls up next to him on the couch and he puts his phone aside to wrap his arm around her. Then his mother hands him a bowl of caramel corn and he thanks her and shares it with his sister. And then the dog lumbers over and plops himself down and my son begins stroking his fur